How's it going, everyone? It's Axilotl here, and I'm going to be bringing you a recap of the friendly I played last weekend, and it was against New York and New Jersey. I was playing in the team Scandinavia. So, you might be wondering, Axilotl, are you actually going to bring VGC 18 content? Oh yeah, I actually found this tournament really fun to play in. But as well, what possibly players played in this tournament? Well, I'm gonna answer that question right now. There were 8 different matches, and the players in the different matches were, in the first match, it was Summer Hunter versus Lauri Halonen. The second match was Maura Hazen versus Ola Nordby. The third match was Jake Rosen versus David Barker. And the fourth match was Vincent Moltalvo versus Daniel van Diepen. And the fifth match was Sohaib versus Nils Dunlop, aka me. The sixth match, Irving Johnson versus Oliver Eskolin. The seventh match was Ingrid versus Sam Plassgård. And then the last match was Tommy Collin versus Benjamin Tan. That is the 8 matches that was played, and I'm sorry if I butchered any of your names. Now let's jump into some recap in all the previous matches, and I'm gonna give you some more in-depth match analysis with mine. So let's get into it. Game 1. This was a very interesting match, with that they both had semi-unconventional teams, and the momentum from both of them went back and forth. As you see here, the Muddy Water in the long run will make dividends. And you also notice that the Salamance's happiness wasn't actually maximum, which made it a really interesting match. But both of them played really well and made solid predictions. And in the end, it came really close who would win. We noticed how Lauri seems to have the advantage, but as we'll see in a bit, we'll see how that turns out. And as you see, another accuracy drop on that Cresselia. Even though it procs this berry, it's really going to now be that Lauri plays with fire, and he basically will have a cross-eyed Cresselia right now, and we'll see if he will be able to hit any attack in the future. Samir plays to her outs, and therefore this goes for a Dragon Dance, trying to be able to clutch out the win in the final scenes of the match. There. Lauri now just only needs to hit one Icy Wind and he wins the whole match. That's where it all comes down to. If Lauri can hit an Icy Wind or not. Still enough misses the first one. What happens in the second one? I don't know. Return goes out and he misses the second one as well. Wow. And the second one and the last one, and he misses once again. I looked into this, and the statistics of that was that would happen 7.5 times in 100 games. But great games to both of them, and Summer wins 2-0 versus Lauri. Game 6. It starts off with that both of them are in a predicament. Irving has a much more TR-based team, but as well, Oliver has counters against that with a Mungus that continuously just spores Irving's whole team. And with the help of Incineroar, he can easily shuffle Intimidates and Fake Out to just prevent the whole rampage that Irving can do with Trick Room. Interesting enough, Irving on his team has a Clamper, a mon that I even didn't know existed, but he doesn't bring it to this match, and I must say that huge respect for just bringing that to this tournament. But as we see, Irving has to play around with sleep turns all the time, but he does well and predicts. I get to see really nice Fairy MC coming out. But not doing even close to the right amount of damage. And the problem with this matchup was that every time Irving was to bring in camera, Oliver just brought in his Feeny, neglecting the whole power of his camera. And this then caused for Irving to always be on the back foot and Oliver always to have the control of the match. He needed to adapt to Oliver's play. But unfortunately he misses a muddy water. But in the end that does not matter too much. Oliver plays really strongly and manages to continues adding pressure onto Irving and not letting him have a single chance of winning. And it ends with him taking down the Snorlax. A 2-0 win for Oliver. So going into my match, the standings was 3-2 to New York and New Jersey. So I needed to pull out a win in this match because otherwise the last two players would need to win both of their matches, which I didn't want to put the pressure on. So I needed to concentrate, and then to prepare for the match I did. I got all of my plushies to help me defeat my opponent. And of course, I got my buddy Swampert on my side. But after that, I was completely ready to get this match started. Let's get it. The team I used for this match was a team based around Kommo-O, which had Gengar, Clefairy, Incineroar, Azumarill, Bulu, as well as the Master Kommo-O. Going into this tournament, the only team I didn't really want to face was a chalk-based team, and that was exactly that I needed to face, so I wasn't too happy. But I knew that with at least Azumarill, I could win one game off this guy, so that was what I went for the first match, and I decided to lead with Gengar Clefairy because I felt that it was a generally good lead against his team, but as we see him leading with Kangaskhan Zapdos, that was a really good lead on his part because my team didn't really have the best of counters against that. So, when to start it off here, I decided to just switch in Incineroar and go for some general damage on Zapdos to be able to chip it down for a later type attack. But as you'll see, he goes for a scrappy fake out, and that I did not see coming and really put my momentum way back. So with that in mind, I needed to play around with his Tailwind and additionally his Kangaskhan full rampage with double edging. So here I needed to play risky and switch in my Azumarill just because I really needed as fast as possible to get up the Belladrum. And decided to fake out the Zapdos to not make Azumarill to take us on the boat. But as you'll see, he gets a crit on his double edge on my Incineroar, which really hinders my longevity with my Mons. But here I needed to do all in my way to just protect my Azumarill to be able to get up the Belladrum, because that was my #1 priority right now. But he read into that and instead went for a double edge, which does tremendous amounts of damage to Clefairy and as well a C move into it. And Clefairy goes down, but this isn't the biggest of problems because I can switch in my Incineroar and fake out the Zapdos, resulting in me getting up my Belladrum sort of for free. He decides to switch out into his Kartana to pressure my Azumarill, and I'm not too keen about that because the problem with this turn was that after his turn expires, his Tailwind would go out, so therefore he could set it up again. Wouldn't be good for me if I were to switch in my Gengar. But I still decided to switch in Gengar because all around that's the better play, and hope that he doesn't go for a Tailwind. And luckily enough he doesn't and goes for Detect, and I as well protect my Azumarill from the possible Leaf Blade coming from Kartana. So from here I also notably he went for Sacred Sword, which if you were to go for a Leaf Blade I could have disabled it, which was more or less my idea with switching in the Gengar. But also I knew that Shadow Ball would have 18% to KO a normal Kartana, but unfortunately not. We get to know that he's Assault Vested, lives that Shadow Ball, and KOs Azumarill, which isn't too good. But good for the knowledge into future matches. And as we see here, he brings out his Kangaskhan, and we have Incineroar plus Gengar against the world. This isn't looking too horrible, but as well, it's really dependent on what he has in the back. He fakes out my Incineroar, I go for the KO onto his Kartana. Just trading that, and here we get to know that he has a Feeny as his last mon. And that was interesting, because that was honestly one of the mons that I would have liked to see. But here I needed to decide what I wanted to do. I just decided to double protect, and from there either go for the role of Sludge Bomb possibly KOing, or as you'll see now, he goes for Ice Punch as well as Muddy Water. If I should disable his Muddy Water to be able to protect my Incineroar. But I decide to not go for that, but later, as we get to know he is a Troy Specs type of Feeny, that would have been the better play, by disabling his Muddy Water, and as well then later disabling his Ice Punch, making more or less Gengar invulnerable. But that ends the first game. Close one. So going into the second match, even though how many people wanted me to bring Kommo-O, I decided to stick with my gut and go with Azumarill, because I believe that it could win a match against Sohaib. So, I started off in a little bit of a different way, with leading Incineroar Azumarill. I felt that I needed to be able to switch in my Clefairy and have Clefairy and Azumarill beside each other to then easier get up the belly drum and not die to a Gigawatt Havoc on switch-in, like the last match. So, with here, I also just wanted to get off a Intimidate on the Kangaskhan. So, with this in mind, I just simply protect my Azumarill and switch in Clefairy, because I didn't feel he would double target into the Incineroar with the mind of probably Azumarill being the biggest threat on the field right here. And he goes for Fake Out, and he lands a critical hit. Seems to be the name for this match, but luckily enough he doesn't double target into Clefairy, and I am able to then get up my Belly Drum. And especially good with that was that he was sort of necessary to switch out, because Double Edge wouldn't have KO'd Clefairy, and therefore he wants to utilize the most of his mons, and therefore just goes for a Gigawatt Havoc into Clefairy. And I just get up a Belly Drum. We get to see that sexy Gigawatt Havoc once again. Down goes Clefairy. So we get up our Belly Drum and are able to pressure him massively right now. So switching Incineroar, in the sense that I felt that Gengar wasn't the best to bring in that turn, because I wanted to be able to damage a little bit Kartana. And with this in mind, I was either debating if the Zapdos would detect and therefore double target into the Kangaskhan, but I decided to go for Aquadet and did not really get so much use of this turn. Looking back at this turn, I probably would have doubled, or either not even bringing in Incineroar. So here I was afraid that he would go for the Tailwind, which luckily enough he doesn't go for, because if he would have, he could have been a much more bigger threat against my Gengar with both his Kartana and Feeny being faster than it in Tailwind. But instead he goes for Thunderbolt in that slot, and luckily enough I get the Cursed Body, even though I honestly almost wouldn't have liked to get that, because I would have just gone for Disable last turn and he probably wouldn't have switched out. But with that in mind, I am afraid of his Heat Wave and silly enough decide to go for a Protect with my Gengar, because of the fact that I'm afraid of him getting the KO on Gengar, as it's almost the most important mon for me right now. And instead just go for a Protect and Awkward it. But looking back at it, I probably could have better just gone for a Shadow Ball on the Zapdos slot to just generally hit everything with big damage that's coming in. So with this in mind, I knew that a Awkward it plus Shadow Ball would KO the Kartana, so I decided to go with that, and after looking at a damage calc, I was 100% going to live a Troy Specs Moonblast from the range that I was at, so I was pretty safe going for that play. The Azumarill lives the attack by a sliver of 6 HP. So here I decided that it still isn't the perfect matchup, so I decided to just double attack into the Feeny to get it gone, and therefore rely on Incineroar winning the match with it being at full HP. And he goes for Heat Wave, and he connects with both, which was also the reason why I went for that play, because it made him need to hit his attacks. Because if he missed one, I guaranteed one. So with here Incineroar, I believe that I could still just win with Incineroar here in the back. And he just goes for Detect, which I agree on, because I just felt that to get some chip off with some Fake Out. And from here, I just need to get off the biggest damage possible with the Flare Blitz, and he goes for Thunderbolt. And I hope nothing of these attacks gets a crit, because if not, I would guarantee be able to take this match. And I, lucky enough, get the burn, and I'm just at the bar of not dying to a next Thunderbolt. And he goes to the Thunderbolt again. If he doesn't get a crit, I live this attack. And lucky enough, I don't get critted, and I am able to KO this Zapdos, and therefore take the game. So now it's 1-1. Right before this match, I had a awakening that actually Kommo was really good in this matchup, and I don't understand why I hadn't brought it earlier. It was really, really strong because, like, with the combination of Bulu and as well the partnership of Clefairy and Incineroar, I just felt that it could sweep his whole team. But I led with Clefairy and Incineroar to be able to deal with his Tailwind, which was probably going to come out from his Zapdos. And looking back at it, it wasn't the smartest play, because my idea was that I could Fake Out and as well Anchor it, but the problem with that is that Zapdos is a C move holder, and therefore he can just neglect the power of me disturbing his Tailwind setup. And he decides to Fake Out my Incineroar, and I just decide to Anchor him into Thunderbolt. And as he silly enough gets a Thunderbolt paralysis on my Incineroar. But at least I Anchor him into Thunderbolt, which is almost better than him into Tailwind. But I decide to switch into my Kommo-O right now, and as well Protect, because I felt that he would go for my Clefairy. But I was silly enough wrong with that, and he goes for straight up a Deal with Havoc right into my Kommo-O, and this is gonna hurt. And just shoots that beam onto Kommo-O, and Kommo-O takes it not as a champ. But in hindsight, it also was a crit. So, and he goes for at least a double edge into the Clefairy. But here I felt that I could pretty safely go for a follow me and set up my C move. And he just double switches into his Feeny. And Kartana. And I go for the follow me, and as well for the C move of Kommo-O. But still I need to take it away due to copyright. It does a small chunk to Kartana, and at least makes me set up all of my boosts so I can, in future turns, go for a flamethrower on that Kartana. But here I needed to get in something that could damage the Feeny, but as well I was afraid of a smart strike coming in from Kartana. But I needed to play aggressive right now, and therefore I decided to switch in my boost. And protect from a possible Dazzling Gleam. And as we see, he goes for a knockoff. I wasn't too happy to see that, but it was at least better than seeing a Smart Strike coming up. And from here, I am pretty sure I can easily deal with both of these, and I'm just gonna safely go for a Flamethrower as well as a Woodhammer into the Feeny. And he decides to switch out his Feeny into Zapdos. And as well, not switch out this Kartana. And this Woodhammer goes out, and it does a tremendous amount of damage. Much more than I would have expected. So from here, my main idea was that I needed to keep Bulu alive to be able to deal with Feeny, but as well just let Kommo-O have his rampage right now. So I switched in Clefairy just to have that Friend Guard, and I easily went for a Clangy Skill, because I didn't really care if he doubled attack into Kommo-O, because he could have taken it. And he goes for Tailwind, but that isn't too big of a problem, because I could stall out Tailwind how it is right now. And he switched out his Kangaskhan, and I was honestly thinking he would have done it on the Zapdos slot, because his Kangaskhan could easier deal with these two, but I was fine with either one. Instead I went to Incineroar because I obviously knew that he would go into Feeny, so I could then punish that switch him by at least giving my Kommo-O one more extra turn. And the reason why I isn't going for a Focus Blast into the Kangaskhan slot is because of the fact that I don't have it. Just, I have Dragon Pulse as my last one. And from here, I am really safely going to just go for a Clanging Skills and also Fake Out. And with this in mind, I now have more or less stalled out the Tailwind, and I am able to later on come in with my Bulu and deal with these two threats. In the sense of Feeny and this Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan's getting the KO onto the Zapdos and doing much more than expected to Kangaskhan. And Kommo-O showing his power right now. So here, Feeny making an entrance. And safely switch into Clefairy and Protect, because he can't really punish me too much about that, even if he were to double attack into it. But lucky enough for me, he also goes for a low kick, and I'm just safely going to sack off my Kommo-O the coming turn. Wanted to protect the Clefairy from a possible double edge to just give me even more turns to survive, and wanted to Flamethrow Kangaskhan to put himself into possible recoil range of double edge. And just let my Kommo-O go down, even though it's sad seeing it going down. So Buddha comes in, and it's a really safe attack into Fini and double. Follow me. In case I'm going for Ice Punch to not have the problem of recoil, and I decide to just KO his team. And with this in mind, it's going to be Incineroar plus Clefairy versus Kangaskhan. And it comes down to whether or not I get paralyzed twice or not. Incineroar comes out, Intimidate, and from here I go for Follow Me and as well Flare Blitz, and let's hope that I don't get paralyzed. So he goes for the KO onto Clefairy, which was expected, and I hopefully get off my Flare Blitz, which I do. And I am able to pull out the victory for this match. And in total, Nils wins with 2-1. Let's go! Game 8. During this whole match, Tommy has the momentum in his favor. This is because of his Milotic on his team, which really is troublesome for Benjamin's team. More or less leading him not to switch in his Incineroar whenever needed, and as well, with the help of his Amoonguss, he can cause the Koko not really to be able to take care of his Milotic, therefore letting it just staying on the field for a super long time. And this causes then for Benjamin to really need to be considered whenever he switches in his Incineroar to actually can he deal with the increased boost Milotic. And this really causes some weird mind games, and as well with the Amoonguss being able to take care of Benjamin's Trick Room, he really can both deal with Benjamin's outside of Trick Room mode and as well inside of Trick Room mode, which made it really difficult for him to deal with it. And as we see here, he goes for a Flare Blitz onto the Kartana, feeling his Amoonguss being more useful than his Kartana. And as we see there, he wants to get the count to P2 to not let us have TR, and mostly just Incineroar being in a bad spot. However, this match is close to being over, with the fact that he can easily switch in his Koko. This Koko, if it actually is able to get the KO onto his Salamence, then Benjamin, even through all this tough predictions, will actually be able to win this match because of the fact that the Flare Blitz will be able to KO the Amoonguss, which I assume. It all comes down to that, and what will it happen? So Dazzling Beam goes off, and it suddenly enough does miss the KO, and Salamence KOs the Incineroar in return, and therefore Tommy winning the match with this solid 2 Slush Bombs onto Koko. Really good play by both of them. It was an insane match to watch. 2-0 to Tommy Collin. So with that, I'm sorry if I couldn't summarize your matches, but I will give you the final result of the other matches. 2-0 to Jake Rosen versus David Barker. 2-0 to Vincent Moltalvo versus Daniel Van Diepen. And as well, 2-0 to Ingrid versus Sam Plassgård. But with that, that concludes the whole summary of the Scandinavian versus New York or New Jersey friendly. And in the final standing was 5-3 to New York, New Jersey. Well, you would think that I would be mad about that, but actually not. I would say it's a really fun tournament, and actually made me like VGC 18. And I hope we can do something in the future similar to this. I must thank Nicole and as well Patrick for holding this tournament, and I hope and I want to say to all the players that you all played great and made it a great event. And I'm not even sure if I can say this, but possibly some team want to challenge the Scandinavian team to a friendly as well. I would assume that we're open for it. But enough with that. I hope you guys have enjoyed. This has been me, Axilotl, and I will see you guys later. Bye bye.